Listeners be advised. The Soliloquy podcast discuss matters related to the human experience and many that are sexual in nature. Due to this, some conversations may surround triggering topics such as sexual violence, self-harm, abuse, and much more. Please be advised, a list of crisis and psychological resources will be available in the show notes of this episode. With that said, let's get started with the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention please as we go through the following safety instructions.
In the event that there is a loss of cabin pressure, oxygen mask will drop from the overhead. Place the mask over your nose and mouth. Breathe normally as oxygen is flowing even if the mask is not inflated. Be sure to adjust your own mask before helping others.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Soliloquy podcast, where we step out and speak on sexuality. This is your favorite host, Vernon T. Scott, also known as Slaytor Jackson, and for you freaky motherfuckers out there, Sebastian Zaddems. It is season 3. I could look. Oh, that was a nice note. Look at me. I guess that's what happens whenever you like sleep pretty good. Your vocal cords are just like, bitch, you're Ariel. You're the Black Mermaid. You're
buttery.
like, yes, it's. You do all these things. I should be in Dreamgirls. I'm Effie White, bitch. Like, oh, if you didn't know. No, I'm Jimmy because I got soul. Anyways, so on today's episode, I'm blessed to have Wesley with me. How have you been?
I've been great. Thank you. How have you been?
Lovely. I'm doing some new things, making some transitions. We'll be moving for a year to a whole new city, a whole new. Okay, I need to stop singing. I will be moving to Atlanta for like a year starting this
Atlanta.
fall. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also like, I'm not a fan of the city, but I'm loving it because I get to grow within that time frame. So I'm excited about it.
Growth is very important.
It really is. And before we get into this kink and fetish conversation, Wesley, do you mind telling the audience all about you and the great things that you do?
Sure. My name is Wesley Tolma. I am, I am a relationship and intimacy coach. I focus mainly on the LGBTQIA plus and kink communities. So I try to help people with their relationships get better, help them understand and navigate this crazy world of kink and sometimes the even crazier world of being queer, and help them find their true selves.
We love it. And speaking of, so I had to like fight YouTube briefly because to let everybody know about your greatness, to go to your website and everything. I posted, and I post things on YouTube too, just so people who wants to listen on that platform, they can. And they flagged it. They were like, "This is this website goes against the community guidelines." I was like, "Bitch, what we're not going to do is come for West's website." So I literally sent like at least 2 paragraphs to them to explain everything that you do, how it's not anything that's inappropriate, how it's actually for the community guidelines, and they took it off within 3 hours.
Good.
So
That's good.
Yeah, I just thought I would bring that up. Like they really tried it that day, and I had the time. Usually whenever they like social media platforms just flag anything that I do, I'm just like, I'm not going to fight it because I don't have the time. But that day I had all the time and for that day, and I was like, we're not doing this now. Not after they flagged me for something I knew I did wrong. So I was like, I can't argue this because I know I can't link this certain website on here, but I did it. But with that, I was like, no, y'all not doing this.
Well, I appreciate that.
So as long as you're posting anything on what is that place called? YouTube, you don't have to worry about being flagged. I handle that for you.
Gotta get onto that YouTube now.
Right. On a different note. So when we initially we had our intake meeting and discussing, drafting up this episode, you did mention that you are within the kink lifestyle. You identify as a kinkster, which is amazing. What is that life like for you?
Wow. For me, it's lovely. It's it's different. It's unique. It's a way to express myself that I didn't know I could growing up, and it's what when I found the kink community, it was very freeing and very liberating. Because before that, and I think this comes for most people who experience or dabble in kink, they feel like they're weird or they're unnatural or they're different. And there's nothing weird or unnatural about it. It's everyone loves the way they love, and everyone should be able to love the way they want to love. Just because it's not what society makes out to be the quote unquote normal is that doesn't mean it's not normal. It's what society thinks, especially in this day and age with all these stupid laws coming across. you know what they think is normal is completely ridiculous. So
Mm,
embrace it.
I agree. I agree. So what brought you into kink spaces? Was it just you wanted something new, something rejuvenating, something that you never heard of before?
I think for me, it was I would experiment with things. I kind of like it got to a point where I was kind of in my house. I wasn't young, but I was fairly young, and I was like, you know what, I want to try something. Let me try something different and see how it feels. And I did it, and I liked it. And I again, like, for a while, I just thought I was a weirdo, and it wasn't until my 20s maybe that I was like, let me check out this. There was a local convention to me, and I was like, let me check out this convention and see what it's like. And it was a kink convention, and I was like, that's these are my people. This is my world.
Mm. And I'm glad that you said that these are my people, this is my world, because I'm really thinking that a lot of the themes of season three is just going to be related to community because
Mhm.
this is, I think, the third or fourth relate like recording I've done for season three, and that's just came back up. What does community mean to you? And on top of that, what is it like just being within the queer community versus what it's like being in the kinkster community?
Yeah, I mean, for me, community is everything. I think if community isn't everything for you, then you're probably not a human. I think as not to sound rude, but I think humans we're naturally drawn to a community, to groups. So I think for me, community is everything. It's what forms us. It's what molds us. We find our communities growing up, and we become parts of those communities. Like for me, I I would say I started my quote unquote kink life by joining the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which is Kink Light. And I worked with Rocky for 20 plus years of my life.
Hmm.
And it was a huge community. It really showed me what it's like to be who I am and who I want to be. And I think it also helped pave that way to experimenting into the kink world, because it is a little bit more open, a little bit more freeing than the vanilla world. So it kind of made me feel more comfortable. And plus, a lot of people at Rocky are kinksters and stuff like that. So yeah, so for me, like, community, it's 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 all you have, I think, at certain points.
Mm.
And it teaches you how to be a better person, how to teach you how to be a different person and how to be a unique person, if it's a good community. In terms of like the queer community, I I love it. I mean, I don't regret it. I tell people, it's not I did not choose to be a gay man, but I would not take it back if I could. You know,
Oh.
even with all the struggles, even with all the troubles, the trials and tribulations, even with all the shit we're dealing with in today, I mean, we just had Boston Pride last weekend, and it was fantastic. It was amazing. And it felt so good. So I would never want to give that back. And I think, what's interesting is there is a huge connect between the kink world and the queer world. I think if you look at a Venn diagram, they're almost perfect circles around each other. if you know most kinksters, and I can't say everyone, but I think from my experience, most kinksters would classify themselves as part of the queer community.
Mhm.
You know, and a lot of queer men, queer women would also, you know, obviously classify themselves as kinksters. But I think there's a really strong intermingling. So it's for me, it's been a very open, very reassuring experience. You know, and I know that's not everyone doesn't have the same experiences. There are a lot of people out there in every community that don't have the best interest at heart, and I get that. I've been lucky enough not to have to deal with those people, but you know they are out there. But for me, it's been just a very opening and freeing and relaxing, you know, eye-opening thing.
So before I comment on my feelings of community, well, just community in general, which character were you in the Rocky Horror Show, and did you change throughout like your 20 years? Because I'm curious now.
Yes, so I started off as running as security, so I wasn't on stage. When I went on stage, I did Eddie, I did Dr. Scott, I did the criminologist. One night I did Magenta for shits and giggles. And then before when I quit, I wasn't acting anymore. I left. I was the cast producer, so I was kind of running the local cast when I stepped down and kind of moved from there. So those are the ones I've played. It's so much fun. I will say this for those who love the movie, it's a terrible fucking movie, and I've seen it over 1,000 times and I hate it. But you know, it's not about the movie. It's about the people. It's about the experience.
Mm. I like that. I still need to watch the film as well as go to a show because I'd be slacking out here in these streets. But I'll get to it one of these days. Hopefully this year. I'm going to make that into an actual goal to do it this year, if not next year. But with community, like when you mentioned how you just feel warm and whole, that's what I get when I think about community in general. Like whenever I'm with my friends, some of my family, I can't say all, but some of my family members, and it just feels like a safe space. I enjoy that so much, and I always will lean towards experiencing that as much as I can, as many opportunities that presents itself. I want to be there to feel that sense of warmth, that wholeness that I get from being within that space. And I do hate that with everything that's going on within this horrid country that we live in, that it's doing everything in its power to separate community, separate family, separate friends, separate all kinds of things on the basis of things that just don't even matter at the end of the day. And I truly hate that. Like even with social media in general, a platform that was advertised to bring people together is one of the main tools that's bringing us further and further apart. You may have, like, I have had multiple conversations with my best friend about how she's in some of these groups on Facebook, and they're supposedly about making sure everybody can have conversations about whatever the topic is, and yet the moderators are the ones that are feeding into toxic material, spreading misinformation, kicking people out just for having an honest conversation of understanding rather than blame. And then it's just creates a unsafe space just for your opinion because these other people have a sense of power, whatever the case is. And it's just like further people away from a community that they thought they had at one point.
The Holiloquy podcast focuses on the variability of sexual expression. When it comes to sexual expression, we often depend on pornography to illustrate how one must perform sexually. For those who have not learned this by now, the stuff you see in porn is not real. Pornography provides a singular perspective of sexual expression that is not often the reality we see during our own sexual encounters. The Holiloquy podcast is a conversation that takes you outside of the compressed box of what many know about sex. Some of the topics we discuss includes kinks, condom usage, status disclosure, and past sexual experiences. The Holiloquy podcast steps out on sexual norms and recognizes that the norm is not the only normal. Subscribe today and join the conversation.
it's just creates a unsafe space just for your opinion because these other people have a sense of power, whatever the case is, and it's
Yeah.
just like furthering further people away from a community that they thought they had at one point. And
Mhm.
I hate it, but I do hope that in time, people are able to heal, have certain conversations, find truth within their communities, and find
Mhm.
that safety once more because we all need it.
Yeah. And I would even say, if you're finding your community on the internet, which these days, I mean, that's how most people find their community, it's a good starting point. But as we've learned over the years, over the life of the internet, it gives people that license to say and do things that they wouldn't in person.
Mm,
So while it is good to find people online that you can relate to, I would urge you to find a local group, local community, if there are any, and meet up with people like in person. I know, yes, COVID is still a thing, but who knows if it is still a thing. I'm assuming it's going to be still a thing when this airs. But you can still find groups that you can hang out with, and you can be safe. And not, I know for me, like, I have a group of friends that I have my queer friends that when I'm raging, especially in June, Pride Month is the time where we need to celebrate and rage. And when I'm raging in June, I have my queer friends that I can go to and rage with, and I know they're gonna stand and support me. And then on the same side of it, I also have my kinky friends that when things like that come up, I know they're not going to judge me, or they're not going to question me, and I can talk to them about certain topics and know that, like, I can't talk to my family about a lot of this stuff, obviously, because they won't understand, and that's fine. They don't have to, but I know I have my group of friends that I can go to them and have these conversations and feel not only supported but safe and unjudged.
yes. And my last note on community, just for anybody out there, and I know this is a sex podcast and whatnot, but I will say find those communities that's not just related into sexuality, sexual identity, and things like that, because you need nuance in your life. And if
Yes.
it's all about the sex, all about the identity, you will probably lose yourself in it, and I don't want that for anybody. Like, I know recently I've started to go to a local bar here in Augusta to just go to their poetry nights, and I performed there. I've listened to other people perform, and that has brought me into the circle of meeting new people, and that's brought me to having a space to let out some of the emotions that I need to let out whenever I need to, or even just feel at peace outside of my typical norm and outside of my home and things like that. Is a very mellow place, but find different places and different activities that you can engage in with those people that you identify with, be it within a sexual related community or any other kind of community. If it's your book club, yes, bring them to new spaces, find out the things that they like outside of the typical books that y'all are reading. If it's a cigar club, okay, well, find something else that you can do, but just reach out to different versions of yourself and find those spaces where you can still feel whole and enjoy it,
Yeah.
because I don't want too many people just to be locked in on themselves and don't see
Yeah.
the multifaceted identity that they present, because yeah.
Yeah, and I think if it's a good community, it's not going to be about, like, just that topic. Like, I'll be honest with you, I have kinky friends that I couldn't even tell you what their kinks are, because we never talk about kink. We're kinky together. We're kinky, and we just hang out together. And it's just like being around people that understand you. And it's like, I don't go to like a munch and be like, hey, so what do you like to do when you have sex? So tell me about your fetishes and kinks and stuff. Nobody cares. Like, we don't, I mean, I know the only time I really care about someone's kink is if I'm attracted to them and I want to be with them. But most of the kink groups I go around, we don't, I mean, we just had a board game day with a bunch of human puppies a couple of weeks ago, and we do that once a month. We don't talk about kink, we don't talk about sex, we play board games.
Mhm.
So find a community that's going to be that for you, but doesn't necessarily have to be that all the time.
Yes, yes. So going back into the kinky side of
Yeah.
things, foot worship.
That's a
So,
segue.
right? What is the great thing about foot worship for you?
Oh man. Well, you are talking to someone who loves feet. Uh it's from what I understand is actually it is actually the most popular kink and just out there, or at least known. For me, it's weird. I don't know. It's the way a foot feels, the way a foot looks, the way a foot tastes, the way a foot can smell, not necessarily a disgusting, dirty foot. Like, I don't know that, but like just a regular foot. It feels good on my body. I like being touched. I mean, I'm a tactile person anyways, but if you really want to get me excited, touch me with your feet, rub your feet on me. It just makes me feel so, like, it gives me tingles. I'm not even sure why. I don't even know where it came from. Most people probably can't tell you where their kinks come from. It's just one day I was like, this is a thing that I just really, really love to play with.
Hmm. Um, I think this episode will more than likely be coming out after my friend Tyrell's, and that's he has a foot kink as well. And I'm always fascinated by those who have that fetish or kink about
Mhm.
them. Like for myself, I don't mind. One, I would love for somebody who loves to like massage feet just like find me, because look,
Mhm.
I would not turn down a foot massage. I shall not, I will not, and I can't. Okay, just like
Mhm.
putting that out there.
Yep.
But like, I know like my former partner, he had like a foot kink as well, and well, I think his was more of a fetish, but he liked the smell of dirty socks and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
in order for us to engage, and it wasn't always needed, but he preferred for it to be there. So
Mhm.
whenever I knew that we'll be intimate, or if we'll be, he'll be in town, I'll make sure I wear the same socks every single day so it can just build up an odor and all this other stuff. And once he gets here, there you go. Enjoy. Like
Mhm.
and it's like I like it because things like that, you don't have to do too much to make your partner happy.
Mhm.
I think that's the beauty of having or experiencing people who have their own kinks and fetishes, because you get to engage with them on a different level that you won't see in just the heteronormative sexual encounters. It's not
Mhm.
about the penetration, it's not about the foreplay, it's all about the engagement with your partner in whatever provides pleasure to them,
Mhm.
even if that's something that's like out there. Like for me, I love a good like body image. It doesn't have to be a nude. It could just be like wearing a tracksuit. Okay, I'm thinking about my ex in this moment, but it can be like wearing something tight fitting
Mhm.
and just posing in it. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, you're giving me what I need. We
Mhm.
should like, I want to hold you tight. I want to cuddle on you. I want to fuck you. All these things. So just based off of you, a person wearing this tight outfit.
Mhm.
And it's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And the thing that most people don't understand, and this is something that I try to explain to people as much as I can, kink and fetish doesn't necessarily mean coming. It doesn't have to even be sexual. I
Mm,
have friends that have kinks that have nothing to do with sex. These are things they enjoy to do, and they want other people to experience it with them. There are people who there's a big community of ABDL, which is adult baby diaper lovers. It's not about sex, it's just about wearing diapers and feeling the feel of a diaper and feeling what it's like to be treated like a child. And there's literally nothing sexual about it. It doesn't have to be about sex. And for me, honestly, like, my kinks are sexual based mostly, for the most part, but it's not about me getting an orgasm. It's about me, and like you said, it's enjoying the feeling of it. I don't necessarily need to do things to come. I can jerk off and come, no problem. But when I go for my kinks, it's for the feeling I get during the act. Like, yes, I love a good blowjob, but I don't need a blowjob to come. I just like the feeling of it. I love feet. I love feet in my face. I love to rub feet on my dick. And you know what? I don't need to come on your feet. I can just enjoy the feeling and move on.
Hmm. That level of satisfaction that you get,
Mm,
like I know I'm very big on role play, and like I know a lot of that is because of me being well, at one point acting. Well, I'm
mm,
getting back into it, but from acting and acting as a child and loving that aspect of life and being different characters always make me feel great. But
mhm,
me on my adult shit now, I see role play as one of those things that I enjoy doing, not for sexual gratification, but just for the sake of being in that space of being someone else or just enjoying the interaction with another person. Like I would love like to have a fake argument with my partner, consensually, and we're just talking about completely different shit, and we just come up with a scenario and spend the day texting each other upset about absolutely nothing that's really within our reality
yeah,
because it's you're getting the opportunity to experience something that is not really there and
absolutely.
enjoying the moment of that.
Yeah, and most role players, you have the age players, you have the pet players, you have the puppies, the ponies. They're not doing it like you said for the sex. They're doing it for the experience because it's like kink. Like anything we do, like if I go and I play D&D, for example, if I play video games, it's escaping myself, becoming someone different, and enjoying an experience as somebody different. So it's not necessarily about, like you said, getting off. It is about just being in the moment, being in little space, being in pup space, being in pet space, being in subspace, even, and just being there and present in it, and just kind of soaking in it, and just letting it resonate.
Yes, yes. Oh, it's a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing.
It
I
is.
I have yet to tap into subspace. Granted, I had a dream that I did, and I was like, I need that.
Mhm.
Whatever the fuck happened while I was in that dream, I need that shit to happen again because that was an experience and it was amazing. And I need that
Yeah.
in waking memory. Came close to it, but yeah, like oh, okay, I'm not going into that.
Yeah, but it's and
So
it's and to be honest with you, it's a tough thing to do, especially for a lot of times. It requires a lot of trust. You have to trust your dom. Your dom has to trust you, and if that trust isn't there, it is hard to get into those spaces. Like even myself, as a dom, I can't get into a dom space when I start playing, but I get more into it the more I know somebody, the more familiar I am with them, because I understand their bodies, I understand what they like and what they want and what they need. So it helps me get into that mind frame, where it's like, if it's like a random one night stand, I'm not, or a random play thing, I'm not necessarily going to get into dom space, and I don't expect them to get into subspace because they don't know me. And,
mm,
everyone is guarded. Everyone should be safe. Obviously, you should be safe, and you shouldn't put yourself out there 100% trusting with people, with perfect strangers.
mm,
So I never expect. I don't get mad when they don't get into subspace, but when you get to know somebody and really trust them, that's when you can get into those spaces, and that's when it becomes so much better. Like, that's for me. I don't like. I mean, I don't mind a play partner. I don't mind like random play. It's not my preference. I like to get to know somebody. I like to play with someone over and over again, really get to know them, get to know their buttons, get to know their tells, get to know what they like, what they don't like. When I do this certain thing, it just drives them crazy. That's the knowledge that, because then for me, I can get into my headspace that I need to, and they can start trusting me to know that I'm not going to take advantage. I'm not going to do things that they don't want me to do. I'm going to respect their boundaries and respect them, and then they can let themselves go into that space and be there and enjoy it. It's not an easy thing to get to. It's not a thing that you should do right away.
Mhm.
And honestly, if I walk with a sub, or if I talk to a sub who says they get right into headspace no matter what, I'm wary, because
Mhm.
that's a level of trust I wouldn't even want to put on myself.
Mhm. Yeah. And one of the things that we ended up talking about back then was like how the emotional and sexual high can
Mm.
impact consent. Do you mind going into detail about that?
Yeah. So for me, it's like I said, if I don't know somebody, I don't know what their body wants.
Hmm.
I don't understand their body. I don't know that maybe this thing that I do this one thing, maybe I spank them a little too hard, or I inadvertently grab them in the wrong place that triggers them. I don't know these things because I don't know this person, and that could ruin the experience. But you know, I think once you start to learn people, and once you start to get comfortable with people, that consent becomes a little bit more, I don't want to say lax, but it becomes a little bit more understanding. Like if I'm with somebody that I've been with multiple times and they start to trust me, if I make a mistake, they're not going to think I'm a terrible human being.
Hmm.
It was a mistake, and we'll be able to get past it. Because nobody's perfect. I'm Everyone's gonna do something they're not supposed to do. And even no matter how much negotiation we do, there's still going to be something that we missed. So I may do something that we never talked about, and but if we've had that rapport, we have that experience, then it's going to be okay. And on top of that, if we have that rapport and that experience, that's when you get to play with those things that you're not necessarily comfortable with. So it's like you can, okay, I have this one guy I've been talking to where he doesn't like CBT, which is cock and ball torture. But
Hmm.
since talking to me, it's one of my favorite kinks. He's been experimenting with it, and he's been playing with it, and he's been getting into it, and now he really likes it. So that's what I think that consent, that rapport, and that comfort comes from. The whole idea between, honestly, like the whole thought between like a dom and a sub is the dom is there. Honestly, and this is something that some doms will probably argue with me on. In my opinion, the subs are in charge. The subs are the ones that are running the whole show, because they're the ones they're the ones that are going to say for it out most likely. They're the ones that are having the experience. My job is to facilitate.
Hmm.
As a dom, my job is to facilitate their experience, whatever that is.
Yes,
And
I agree.
yeah, if they're not, so like for me, it's like I just want to make my subs happy. I want to make them enjoy themselves, and I'm going to do whatever I can to make them enjoy themselves. And but with that consent, a part of it is also a dom is there to push the sub, because that's what the sub wants. They want their boundaries pushed a little bit. They want to see if they can go further and further. You can do whatever you want to yourself. We kind of stop ourselves from hurting. Let's say, for example, hurting ourselves too hard, because that's just
Mhm.
human nature. A dom will push you a little bit further, but a good dom will push you further, but not too far, and will not push you beyond that boundary where you're safe wording out, or you're calling a yellow or red. They're going to push you, and they're going to push you in little increments, and they're going to make you comfortable and feel safe to be pushed those little increments, knowing that if at any second you say stop, they're going to stop. And that's the comfort level that only can come with knowledge, with trust, with history, and with consent.
Mm. Oh, that's a yes. Like that, when you brought up CBT, that brought me to a memory of when I met up with somebody. Didn't know that was something that they were into, but they did mention it like before we started to engage in sex, that they like to have their balls like twisted and like pulled on and
Mhm.
squeezed and all of that. And I let them know that's not something that I'm completely familiar with, but I can try to facilitate as much as possible. But there was a point where I had to like take a step back and tell them that I'm no longer comfortable in doing it,
Mhm.
because I don't know exactly their limit of how much they can handle and how much force I was putting on. I felt as though it was too much. Of course, to them it wasn't, but it was like this is something that I cannot just jump out of the gate and just go all out and just squeeze the hell out of your nutsack,
Right.
and think that, oh, everything's fine, because at the end of the day, I want to ensure that we both enjoy this sexual experience. But if I'm too concerned about how much pressure I'm applying, I'm not enjoying it, because I'm being too much in my head.
Exactly.
And one of the things that we talked about was that, hey, if we do meet up again, we just have to like ease up to that, so that I can fully understand what pressure I can apply, and I rather not be related to like a sexual experience that's mutually there for both of us. That way, I don't have to like
Yeah.
worry too much about my how much I'm doing, and if
Mhm.
I'm not in the mindset, is not because I'm looking to receive pleasure, is because I'm making sure that this person is receiving the adequate amount of pleasure for them.
Exactly.
But
And a lot of kinks, as I think we talked about in the past, they can be dangerous.
mhm,
And you have to be careful. And for me, like I said, for me, CBT is one of my favorites, both giving and receiving. I
mhm,
can take a lot of pain, and it makes me feel really good. And it was the same thing. Like, for the longest time, my husband was the only one that I did that with because I trusted him
mhm,
100%. And he knows how much I can handle. He knows how to push me a little bit further, a little bit further. But it wasn't always like that. When we first started playing, he was the same way. He's like, I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to go too hard. And so we took it slow. He did a little bit. We did a thing afterwards during aftercare. We talked. I said, yeah, you can go a little bit harder. It was fine. It was great. I loved it. I loved it. It was great. Next time, if you want to go a little harder, that's fine. Don't worry about it. And then the next time we would play, I would tell him like, you can go harder. And he would, based off of me, he would go a little harder, and then he would go a little harder. And then he learned. So, now he knows like what I like, and he knows how I like it. But again, it comes like we were talking about, it comes with that familiarity. It comes with that knowing of your partners, and not genuinely not wanting to hurt them, but at the same time knowing they want to be hurt.
mhm.
It's a very fine line to walk sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of being within the kink spaces,
Mhm.
is the conversations for one, but it's the understanding of how far another person can go, and as well as being wary of how much you're doing within the process, which is something that unfortunately is lacking within a lot of just sexual experiences in general that's
Mhm.
outside of kink spaces. Like if I'm having a conversation with somebody and their goal is, oh, I want to pound you and all this other shit, but I'm like, okay, we need to discuss what pound is, like for real, because
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of pain, and I'm also not a fan of anal tearing, and I'm not trying to do either of those. So can we discuss like what I prefer as it comes to us engaging in sex, and if that's a conversation that they're uncomfortable having, or they're just like, well, you're talking too much, and then it's like, I just don't want to deal with you at all now, regardless of how attractive you are, or how sexy your body and dick and all this other shit may be. It's just I'm not going to engage, because I know that I'm not going to be respected. At least within kink spaces, it's kind of a guarantee that there will be a mutual respect of each other's bodies that's going on.
Yeah.
And I I hope that more people, most definitely those who are listening to the podcast, and whenever they think about their own sexual experiences, that they place respect in those conversations at all times, and make sure that they know that they deserve that respect, regardless of who their sexual partner is. And the more that people talk about it and address those concerns before, the more likely that others will start to do the same thing. So, like,
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I've hooked up with people and they've said, yeah, hooking up with you, one is a vibe. I felt very comfortable and safe. And that's something I'm not familiar with. Engaging with other people.
Mhm.
So that's the one thing that was extremely different from like the other experiences that they've had. And I'm like, that's sad.
Yeah, it is. And it's funny because like I'm at the very beginning stages of I've been wanting to write a book, and I'm at the like kind of the brainstorming stage of writing a book. And the whole premise of the book is going to be for the vanilla world, what I've learned as a Kinkster, what I've learned at the Kinkster that I think the vanilla world would benefit to know, like consent negotiation, conversations, stuff like that. And that is a big deal. And to be fair, there are Kinksters out there that are they're not the best people, and they're gonna be this just as bad, and they're gonna try to take advantage or do whatever makes them happy, but and you learn who those people are, and you don't play with those people if you don't want to, if you don't, and something I tell everybody, even every dom, because even doms can be put in a situation that they're not comfortable with. If it feels wrong, don't do it, period. Trust your gut. Don't do anything you're not comfortable with, and on top of that, don't do anything you haven't previously discussed. And don't let someone pressure you into doing something you didn't previously discuss. If you didn't discuss penetration and you're in the middle of a scene and they want you to penetrate them, or they want to penetrate you, no, because it wasn't discussed ahead of time. That's not part of that's not part of what you're doing. And I think the vanilla world misses that, because when it comes to sexual activity, when it comes to sexual interaction, there is no negotiation. There's no conversation. Most of the time you meet someone at a club, you go back to their place, you fuck, you kind of fumble around, find out what they like, what you like, what he likes, whatever. And maybe you have a good time. Maybe you don't, maybe they do something wrong. If you're lucky, if when you're done, they'll stop. Unfortunately, if you're not lucky, some people won't. And that's a risk that is out there. But kind of like with you, like you said, for me, like I try to tell people, like whenever any partners I play with, any people I talk to, any clients I work with, I try to tell them, it's like you have the right to say. You have to say, regardless of what anyone else thinks, regardless of what role you're in, you have say. And any dom worth a lick is going to respect a sub and respect their choices. And yes, we are there to push. We are there to do things that normally wouldn't do. And there are some certain kinks, like CNC, consensual non-consent. But these are things that were previously discussed. Like I've dealt with CNC in the past, and for me, it's like, okay, what does that look like to you? How do I know what is CNC, and how do I know what is actually you telling me to stop? I need to learn these things. A good dom, a good sub, a good partner, let's just say, is going to respect those boundaries and respect those lines. But unfortunately, there are predators out there. There are bad people out there that won't, and so that's why I say, like, if it doesn't feel right, trust your gut. Worst case scenario, you missed a good fuck. You'll find more. It's not that big a deal. Best case scenario, you just saved yourself a lot of potential problems.
Exactly. Well, before we close out this episode, you brought it up a little bit earlier, and that's aftercare. And it's very important. What is aftercare?
Aftercare looks different to everybody. It's what you need to come down from whatever you just did. And coming from the kink community, I talk about scenes, but aftercare is the same thing with if you just had a basic regular sex. It's the cuddling, it's the talking, it's the conversation, it's whatever that person needs. Or, maybe your aftercare is a chocolate bar after you have a scene or after you have sex. Maybe your aftercare is smoke a blunt. Who knows? Everyone's is different, but another thing that I think the kink community is good at, that the vanilla world can learn, is discussing that, like learning what that is, not just figuring it out as you go or assuming everything's okay. Like anytime I play, that is one of the things I talk about before we start is like, what does aftercare look like for you? So I understand. And then I'll tell them what aftercare looks like for me. And if they're similar, great, we'll play along with that. If they're different, we then have more of a discussion how we can feel, work through each other's aftercare. Like I've been with partners that their aftercare is literally just leaving us immediately and going to smoke a bowl. My aftercare is very much cuddling and talking, hanging out, and just being around each other. Those obviously conflict. So, we had a little bit more of a discussion to figure out how to work through that, and whatever, that's part of it. But yeah, I think for me, and I think, and again, anybody who's knows what they're doing, or not knows what they're doing, but anyone who respects anybody, aftercare is one of the most important parts of a scene, because it helps reinforce comfort. It helps reinforce the trust. If you're not willing to take 5-10 minutes to cuddle with someone after you've just spanked them for an hour, the fuck? Seriously.
That's a good one. No, I'm with you there. Like, I know some people just don't need aftercare, but I do enjoy it. Do
Mhm.
I request it from all the people that I've engaged with? Not really, because I have several things that I can do for myself. Just developing that over the years. But
Mhm.
I do. I'm similar to you. I do enjoy a moment of cuddling or just talking. Like, I don't mind having conversation after sex. Like, oh, how are you doing? And everything's good. And that's one of the things I typically do, regardless of who I've hooked up with, just to make sure that they're fine, they're
Mhm.
in a good mental place, they enjoy themselves or didn't, whatever the case is.
Mhm.
But it just provides a sense of, okay, everything's fine for you. I'm good. What are your plans for the rest of the day, the weekend, whatever?
Yeah.
But I enjoy those moments because it furthers the understanding that this was not just about fucking,
Right.
not necessarily building relationships with the person, but at least um, sh- um, showing them that this engagement was more than just a sex. It's because I see you as human, I
Right.
see you as a person, I see you as a whole being, and
Mhm.
not just a tool for my satisfaction. And
Right.
I,
You're more
I
than just a
want
dick
you
in a
to.
hole.
Right. I want you to go away knowing that this time that we've spent together, I appreciate it. It was a
Yeah.
good experience, even if it wasn't the best. But I see you for you,
Mhm.
and yeah, we could talk. We don't have to, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
But
I actually enjoy using aftercare as a sort of a debrief. Like,
mhm,
what did you like? What didn't you like? What would you want me to do differently next time? What would you love me to do again? And it's, for me, because I like to play multiple times, it's part of learning the person. Okay, you didn't like when I did that? Good. I know that now. I won't do that again next time. But you really like this? Okay, so I will do a little bit more of that. It's about learning the person. It's about understanding their bodies, and about understanding their likes and their dislikes. And honestly, aftercare is a great time to do it, because you just had this experience. It's fresh in your mind. So you can easily talk to, well, when you did this, I loved it. When you did this, nah, it was okay. And it makes it a good time. And again, it is that getting to know somebody. It is kind of getting more comfortable, if that's what you want. If it's a one night stand, a bang and go, whatever, who cares? Fuck them. But if it's someone you want to potentially see again, aftercare is a good time to kind of have those conversations, and kind of show, and like you said, show them that they're human. They're not
mhm.
just a piece of meat. They're not just furniture. They are a human being, that even if I spent the last hour just, insulting them and hurting them, I still think of them as a person.
Yes, yes. Yeah. 20 minutes ago, you were the whore that I never thought I will ever want to see again in my life.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, I love you.
exactly. I will spit in your face, but I will hold you at the end. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See, oh, the beauty of Kingston. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. All righty. So, Wesley, are you ready for a little bit of Never Have I Ever?
Sure.
All right. Well, this one's kind of vanilla in my eyes. Never have I ever had phone sex with a lover.
Oh, I've definitely done that. I think I did that like last week.
You want to know something that's interesting? I have not had phone sex with any romantic partners.
Really?
I haven't. I just reading that. I just realized that, like, the last time I've done any kind of phone sex, I was a teenager, and it was calling on those random ass hotlines, and just you know, um, kind of doing a prank on people. Um, but yeah, because I don't like being on the phone, I never really do it. But I
Mhm.
have done like sexting and stuff like that. Yeah, I can do that.
Oh
And
yeah,
we
I'm
want to
very
jump.
much into the sexting.
Oh my gosh, I love me. Oh, yes. I remember when I was much younger, there was this website called BG Live or BGC Live or Black Gay Chat Live, whichever name. And on there, they would have forums where people put their own stories on there, things that they wrote, or either something that's they reflected on. I used to enjoy reading their other people's stories. I
Mhm,
contributed to the forums too. It was just great.
mhm.
Like textual sex, yes, I'm here. And I
Oh yeah.
think it might be the writer in me, but mm,
Oh yeah. A well-written fanfic will get me going in a second.
yes. Would you like a would you rather?
Sure.
So, would you rather be with a partner who was excessively affectionate in public or who never showed affection in public?
Oh, that was a tough one for me
Ooh.
because I love affection,
Hmm.
but at the same time, I'm a little bit, I consider myself one of the, not, I don't want to say the elder statesman, but an older gay. And I come from a time when
Hmm.
being affectionate in public was dangerous. So, even to this day, I've been married to my husband now, where this end of the month is going to be 11 years. And I still struggle holding his hand in public because of that innate upbringing that I had. But at the same time, I want it so bad.
Hmm.
So I want to say I would love someone who's affectionate, but that anxiety in my head is saying no, 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 no.
Right. That makes sense. I feel like I'm similar to you. Like I wouldn't mind public displays of affection, but I have my own personal limit of what I will allow. Like I
Mhm,
don't mind the kiss, I don't mind like the occasional boob shake or whatever. Or holding I don't like holding hands to begin with, unless it's like us like at dinner or something and we're having a conversation. We just want to have that kind of connection.
mhm.
But like walking and holding hands, no, because I don't want to match my pace with another person with how I swing my arms. I'm sorry, it feels odd to me, so I cannot. Like for those who can do it, I love that for you all. But I walk with my hands, talk with my hands. My hands are always moving, so
Mhm. I feel that.
I me trying to change, I will trip over myself trying to match the pace of another person. So I cannot do that part.
Yeah.
But I love affection. I love private affection as well.
Oh
So
yeah.
I think I will go more on the side of affectionate, but not in public for that reason, because fuck whatever the world sees, honestly.
Mhm.
As long as when I'm at home and you're at home, I feel the love. That's all that really matters to
Yeah,
me.
as long as you don't treat me like a perfect stranger in the
Mm,
streets, yeah,
yes,
I'm fine.
yes, that part.
Yeah.
So I have a completely new deck of cards of sex questions for
Ooh,
season 3, and these are a little bit kinkier than the last one. So, and this one
go,
is actually perfect for this episode.
good.
So, I feel like I know the answer to this, but we don't ever go into detail.
Mhm.
How do you feel about restraints like handcuffs, ropes, bondage, tape, plastic wrap, and other things? And would you want to be restrained? Or do you prefer to restrain others?
I love the idea of restraints. Not so much into the saran wrap, only because it's wasteful and not really good for the environment. If I could find reusable saran wrap, I'd be all for it. But I have a couple pairs of handcuffs. We have bed restraints on our bed that we can use at all times. In terms of being restrained or restraining, it depends on who I'm with.
Mm,
The only person I've ever really truly subbed to was my husband. Because I trust him 100%. I trust that he has my well-being in mind 100%. So if it was him, I would have no problem him restraining me and doing what he wants. But anyone else, I would rather be the restrainer than the restrainee, because in nothing, it's so much fun. I love tying some guy down and just tickling him, or grabbing like a Hitachi wand, like a vibrator, and putting it on his dick and just teasing the fuck out of him for hours and hours. It's watching him struggle and wiggle and Oh my God, it just gets me
Mm.
so happy. It turns me on so much.
I'm with you on that. I am definitely with you on that. Like, I wouldn't mind restraining a partner and
Hmm.
just like I'm so into like torture play for that reason.
Hmm.
Just let me enjoy pleasing you in all these different ways, and you don't have any control over it because you gave me all this motherfucking power to please you how I wish. And
Hmm.
yes, that will bring out the demon in me, and I will enjoy it all. And I'm also comfortable with being restrained myself.
Hmm.
And because it's popular right now, apparently because of TikTok, like fruit roll-ups and the
Hmm.
little fruit roll-up trick that people are doing. How would you feel, to be environmentally safe as well, being restrained by a multitude of fruit roll-ups all around your body?
Sounds sticky.
It really does.
I'm all for eating food off of my partner or having food eaten off of me. So I think it would be fun to be probably to be restrained and have my partner kind of, you know, eat me out of the restraints. That sounds fun. That sounds like something I would want to do as well. Um, but other than that, the idea of then I would definitely need to take a shower because I'm sure my sweaty ass is going to be covered in sugar and it's going to be disgusting.
Yes. That's my only thing when it comes to like mixing syrups and all of that into sex and all
Hmm.
like is the stickiness because I
Hmm.
don't want to be sticky after sex. I really do not. I don't.
Sex makes you sticky enough.
Right? Like somebody asked me about, well, someone we were using whipped cream and he was sucking the whipped cream off my dick and everything. He asked me if I went in on my asshole and I was like, shit. I was like, please let's not, because yeah, I'm going to wash my asshole regardless, but something about that and internal bacteria and bacteria loving sugar and sweets. I'm like,
Hmm.
I don't want to fuck up my bodily ecosystem. Not
Yeah,
today. Not today.
yeah.
we could try to figure that some other day after I talk to a doctor about what can happen. But today, no, we're not going to do that. We just keep it surface area, please.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Ooh, on that note, do you have any last words that you would like to share with the audience before I close us out?
I think the thing I want to I try to tell everybody is just be happy being who you are. Don't don't worry about what other people think. I know it's easier said than done, but the way I look at it is fake it till you make it. And if you want to be a little, let's say, different, if you want to be a little bit crazier when it comes to your interactions and your intimate moments, fucking embrace it, man. Just go for it and just be happy.
Yes, life too short to be like sad and depressed.
Oh my God,
Choose
yes.
you.
Yeah,
Be happy.
yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Wesley. I greatly appreciate you for coming on to the show.
Thank
Uh,
you.
to the audience out there, thank you all so much for listening to the Holy podcast, where we step out and speak on sexuality. Just in case no one else told you this today, you are beautiful, you are worthy of happiness and joy, you are enough and then some. You may not live up to the expectations of others, but that is okay. You are only required to walk in your own shoes. May each day you live lead you towards abundance. With that said, I love you all, and I'll see you next episode. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Holiloquy podcast, where we step out and speak on sexuality. You can subscribe to the podcast through your favorite podcasting app and find us on the web at www.holiloquy.com. That's www.heauxliloquy.com. Share the podcast with your friends and join the conversation.